you have the field nigger and you have the house nigger. Yeah, they're quite happy to play the role of house negro to accept the crumbs from the master's plate. They're quite happy, okay, to play the role of black puppets. Yeah, they're very happy so long as they're getting fed, watered, all right. So long as they feel that they're getting at the expense of others, so they're playing the role, if you like, of overseer. Okay, yeah. As I explained in our last video, we get an awful lot of our professionals saying, "Oh, you've got to play the game." Yeah. Well, life is a game. Yeah. Yet some are playing this game, yeah, with paying no attention to the rules. Yeah, they're making up of the rules as they go along. They're beyond the rules or beyond the law. Yeah. You hear what I'm saying to you? When it's discovered that they're lying, they're being discriminatory, they're being racist, etc., they then go into cover-up mode. All right. And the saddest part of it is that there are members of our race who have been conditioned, like we said, it's in their very DNA to work against self and kind, to work against humanity or human beings. Because the first thing when you're born, if you want to take it away from race, you're born a human being. And as we are pointing out, a lot of these international organizations were set up to bring peace and harmony to the planet Earth, and they have not succeeded in doing so. When I often hear of Eastern European countries or African countries bawling out for the United Nations, yeah, come and help us, come and sort us out, send in peacekeepers who cannot retaliate. Yeah, so things escalate and get worse, before the peace actually happens. Yeah? So therefore, we've now got to look at these things and analyze these organizations that were set up for world peace and are doing a miserable job at this present time, because there has been war on every single continent and major wars on every single continent since the setting up of these international organizations. Okay? And being as we're now moving towards, if you like, the merging of all international boundaries, where there's just going to be one world, one planet Earth, one new world order, one government. We now have to start looking at what's in this deal for us, because what we're finding as we're explaining, we have most of the resources when you take it to the human resources. Yeah, in other words, the strength that we have to build up America, to build up Europe, the brains that we had to also do these things in relation to engineering and science, etc. Not saying it's just ours, I'm not saying that. The wealth that we have in our lands that we as a race are not benefiting from. Not only are we not benefiting from as a race, but our countries have an abundance of wealth but are seen as third world countries. So it's going to be very interesting to see the development of Haiti, to see the development of Jamaica now that oil has been uncovered in the seas in and around Haiti, in and around Jamaica, because it didn't progress, if you like, Nigeria. Nigeria is a country I've been to, beautiful country, an abundance of oil. Yeah, what normally happens is, we now have oil. Those who have spent their time in politics in these countries, what normally happens now is that your Western companies, because they have the infrastructure, to extract that oil and to refine that oil, what normally happens is they sideline whatever corrupt person that they have to find. And I also want to bring this to the attention of everyone as well. When you're talking about somebody selling out, sometimes we utilize that terminology and exclusively think it's a black thing. It's not a black thing. You have Eastern European leaders who sold out. When you're talking about Russian oligarchs, they stole the wealth, yeah, of Russia to create people like Abramovich, Khodorkovsky, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, they took the wealth of the mass, yeah, and condensed it and gave it to a few men to create these very rich.
Because that's what my man was rich in it. Yeah, the guy, the Chelsea.
Like the guy that owned Roman Abramovich. That's correct.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
When they started to divvy the things up, they chose who they wanted to divvy things up. There's a man called Mikhail Khodorkovsky who went up against Vladimir Putin, yeah, the Russian Prime Minister when he was president. Okay, and he had just as much money as Abramovich, if not more. That man has lost more money in 1 year than any other human being, because he now went up against Vladimir Putin. Because I don't know if you know about the breakup of Russia, but when the breakup of Russia occurred, a lot of Russians, in order to create that rich Russian elite, which they didn't have, because remember they were doing communism, yeah, so the wealth was all divided, yeah, so in order to create this elite, yeah, they had to, if you like, privatize first those Russian companies. So take the companies out of public hands, okay, and put it into private hands, yeah, which is what you saw Thatcher do during the 80s with BT. Alright, took it out of the public's hands, at the public sector, privatised it. Yeah? Same with British Gas, took it out of public hands, privatised it. Yeah?
And that's where people start investing into shares and that stuff.
That's where now people started investing into stock and shares, and you now started having directors and chief executives earning tremendous bonuses. Yeah, because your ordinary everyday person was given the opportunity to buy shares, and now they receive a dividend. Yeah, so a payout. Yeah, based on how many shares they actually have. Okay, but we don't see this system operating once again in Caribbean countries and in African countries, even though we have the black gold, even though we have the uranium that makes up these nuclear weapons, even though we have the all the components that make up your computer, even though we have the gold, even though we have the diamonds, even though we have the rubies, and we have these things in abundance, yeah? So even if you was a poor accountant, yeah, or a poor bank manager, the amount of wealth that we have is so much that even if you was really bad on the mathematics, yeah, there would still be enough, to go around. Do you hear what we're saying to you? But when you're seeing certain African leaders in charge of certain countries, they are put there, and the West is happy to do business with them because they know that they're going to do corruption.
Of course.
Yeah, that's why the West is doing business with them. If you're like, let's say, Hugo Chavez of Venezuela, yeah, the former mayor of London, Ken Livingstone, did a deal where Londoners would have got cheaper oil or cheaper petrol, all right, than other areas of the country, because he done a deal with Venezuela, all right, where Venezuelan oil was now being made available to Londoners. That's why they got Ken Livingstone out of the seat and put in Boris Johnson. Because the first thing Boris Johnson, what do you think he did when he became mayor of London? Cut the contract.
Cut the contract. What's happening
with Hugo Chavez, with Venezuela. Because of the stance of Hugo Chavez, being as he is one of the few indigenous leaders, yeah, in other words, an indigenous person has actually made it to be president of the country, because the indigenous people were sidelined. Because when you look at a lot of your peoples of New Zealand, of Australia, of Argentina, of Peru, of Chile, of Venezuela, the people that they show you now, yeah, a lot of them have very European